There are places where time seems to stand still, places where the walls remember things better left forgotten. Tonight, we step into one such place, where the veil between the living and the dead has thinned to the breaking point. Welcome to Ravencrest Asylum, a forsaken building haunted by more than just memories. Are you brave enough to enter? Let's find out. And welcome back to Scarying YouTube channel. Before going, please subscribe to my channel. I get motivated to make more scary and horror stories for you guys. Let's begin. Ravencrest Asylum was built in the early 1900s to house those society deemed too broken to fix. The mentally ill, the criminally insane, and those with nowhere else to go all ended up behind its iron gates. At first, it was a state-of-the-art facility, staffed with the best doctors and equipped with the latest in medical technology. But as the years went on, the asylum fell into disrepair. Funding ran dry, staff quit, and the patients were left to rot inside its crumbling walls. By the 1950s, Ravencrest had become more prison than hospital. The doctors still there stopped trying to help the patients, and the treatments became more about control than care. Electroshock therapy, isolation, and even lobotomies were common practice. But the real horror of Ravencrest wasn't the treatments. It was the patients themselves. The most infamous patient was a man named William Greaves, known to the world as the Raven. Greaves had been committed after a gruesome series of murders, where he claimed to have been possessed by the spirits of the night. He believed that the souls of the dead would visit him at midnight, and only through sacrifice could he appease them. No one believed his ramblings until the disappearances began. One by one, the staff at Ravencrest started to vanish. First it was an orderly, then a nurse, then a doctor. The remaining staff chalked it up to poor working conditions or sudden resignations. After all, who would want to stay in such a grim place? But the truth was much darker. Greaves was right. At midnight, the spirits came. The disappearances became too frequent to ignore, and rumors spread that something unnatural was happening in the asylum. The final straw came when a night watchman vanished, leaving behind only a bloodstained set of keys. Ravencrest was shut down soon after, its patients relocated and its doors sealed. But the dark whispers never stopped. They said that Greaves and those who vanished were still inside. And at midnight, if you stood outside the iron gates, you could hear the cries of the damned. Years passed, and Ravencrest faded into local legend. Few dared to venture up to the hill, and those who did never stayed for long. But in 1982, a group of college students decided to test the legend. They were thrill seekers, skeptics who laughed in the face of danger. Armed with flashlights, cameras, and a few cans of beer, they made their way to Ravencrest one stormy night. The group of five, Mark, Anna, Jake, Lisa, and David, broke in through the basement. The smell of mildew and rot hit them immediately, but they pressed on, laughing and joking as they filmed their adventure. They explored the decrepit hallways, finding old medical equipment, abandoned patient files, and graffiti left by others who had come before them. The building seemed empty until midnight struck. The first sign something was wrong came when Anna started complaining about the cold. It wasn't unusual for an old building to be drafty, but she swore it felt like someone was breathing down her neck. Then David, the group's prankster, disappeared. They thought he was trying to scare them, but after an hour of searching, they couldn't find him. His flashlight was left behind, flickering on the floor. Panic began to set in. The laughter stopped, and they started hearing noises, whispers, footsteps, and the distant sound of metal scraping against metal. It was coming from the old patient rooms. Desperate to leave, they tried to retrace their steps to the basement, but the halls seemed to twist and change. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't find their way out. As they passed one of the patient rooms, Jake swore he saw someone standing inside. It was a shadowy figure, tall and thin, with hollow eyes that seemed to follow them as they moved. The figure didn't chase them, but its presence sent a chill down their spines. Mark, the de facto leader, pushed them to keep moving, convinced it was all just a trick of the light. But it wasn't. By the time they reached the main entrance, 2 more were gone. Lisa and Jake had vanished without a sound. Their belongings were left behind, but there was no sign of them anywhere. It was just Mark and Anna now, and they knew they had to get out. Suddenly, the whispers grew louder. The air thickened with dread as they heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate, and getting closer. Mark and Anna turned to see a group of figures, shrouded in darkness, emerging from the patient rooms. These were not the living. Their hollow, sunken faces and pale, lifeless eyes told them that. They were the souls of those who had vanished, and they were coming for them. In a final, desperate sprint, Mark and Anna made it to the basement door. But as Mark turned the handle, Anna was pulled back into the darkness. He could hear her screams echoing through the halls as he stumbled out into the night, gasping for breath. He never looked back. Mark was found wandering the road the next morning, disoriented and babbling about ghosts and shadows. He was the only one who made it out of Ravencrest Asylum. The footage they recorded was found inside his backpack, and it showed everything except the spirits. No one ever believed Mark's story. They said it was hysteria, trauma from losing his friends. But those who watched the footage say otherwise. At midnight, if you listen closely to the static, you can hear the faint sound of whispers. Some places are better left undisturbed. Ravencrest Asylum is one of those places. If you ever find yourself wandering near its gates at the stroke of midnight, be warned you may not be alone. Thanks for joining us on this chilling journey. Sleep well, if you can.